Hi, hello and welcome to F1 Challenge VB. My name is Mephisto and we are about to embark on an epic journey through time, spanning several decades. A journey filled with drama, suspense, tragedy, and triumph. Throughout this journey, we will experience the history and evolution of what probably is the greatest and most prestigious motorsport in the world, Formula One. And our journey begins here at Silverstone, at the 1950 British Grand Prix. I really hope you enjoyed that little intro sequence because this is the first and last time you'll see this one. It was made only for this video, which is kind of a shame since I've spent quite a lot of time making it, but oh well. And to be honest, it is a bit too long for everyday use, so for those reasons, this is the only time you'll see this particular video intro. Anyway, there's a lot to cover in this video, so let's jump right into it. First, there are a few things I haven't mentioned in the introductory video I released on Sunday, so let's look at those things in no particular order. First, let me finally reveal the team I, or rather Andy Higgs, will be driving for this season. And that team is ERA. Yes, this is the team I really wanted to drive for this season. This is the reason there hasn't been a straw poll. Next, for this series, I will be turning on the heads-up display, despite the fact that I find it really distracting and highly unrealistic. However, I will need the HUD for commentary purposes, so I hope you'll forgive me for that. 3. If something were to happen to me during the first lap of a race, I will restart. As most often than not, the retirement will be caused by the AI doing something really stupid. However, I will provide a small clip at the end of these videos to show you what exactly happened. Also, I will always mention at the start of a race if I had to restart or not. 4. If I crash during practice or qualifying, when applicable, I will, depending on how severe the damage is, either skip to the next session or skip straight to the race. So for instance, if I were to lose one of my wings, then I would only skip to the next session. On the other hand, if I were to break my suspension and lose a wheel, then I would skip straight to the race. And 5, I will be using different difficulty settings for each season, because during testing I found out that in some seasons the AI is faster than in other seasons. To be more specific, I'm going to use different AI strength settings. However, the damage multiplier and AI aggression settings will always be set to a specific value, i.e. damage multiplier will be 85% because the AI can be very dumb sometimes, and the AI aggression will be 45% for the exact same reason. And you'll soon see what I mean by all this. AI strength for this particular season will be set to 100%, and race length throughout the entire series will be 35% of race distance, since I find that to be sort of the ideal length for both editing and racing overall. I guess I could also add a sixth point here, and that is, the videos in this series are going to be slightly longer than in my previous series because I want to talk about the various real-life events at the start of each video. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, the 1950 Formula 1 season was held between the 13th of May and 17th of December, and it consisted of a total of 25 races, out of which 7 were championship races and the other 18 were non-championship events. The season was won by Giuseppe Nino Farina, who won 3 of the 7 championship races and scored a total of 30 points. Runner-up was Juan Manuel Fangio, who also won 3 of the 7 races. However, he was only able to rack up 27 points, and Luigi Fagioli finished the season in third with 24 points, or 28 if we take into consideration shared points. And the way shared points worked was, say I was driving a Maserati but wasn't doing all that well in the race, and at some point during the race I decided to give the car to someone who retired. Well, if that driver were to finish in, say, third place, he would score 4 points, but because he used my car to score those 4 points, the points would be divided equally between the 2 drivers. So that means he would get 2 out of the 4 points and I would get the other 2 points. It sounds a bit weird, but this was a pretty common practice back in the day. But we will not really bother with this in this series. Speaking of points, in the 1950 season, only the top 3 results of the season were taken into consideration, and the other 4 results were dropped entirely, and the points went as follows: 8 points for the winner, 6 for second, 4 for third, 3 for fourth, and 2 for fifth, with 1 point being awarded to the person posting the fastest lap in the race. And that concludes this very brief look at the season. Now on to the race. The first race of the season was the British Grand Prix, held on the 13th of May. It was the 5th British Grand Prix, however the first within the World Championship, and this was the third only time that the British Grand Prix was held at Silverstone. This race fulfilled sort of a dual role, as it was also called the Grand Prix of Europe. There were a total of 24 entrants in the race, out of which 22 signed up for the race, but only 21 showed up as Felice Bonetto was unable to attend. Out of the 21 drivers, only 11 crossed the finish line. The grid at the start of the race looked as follows. Farina was on pole with Fagioli second, Juan Manuel Fangio third, Reg Parnell fourth, and Prince Bira was fifth. The race was run over 70 laps, lasting 2 hours, 13 minutes and 33 seconds, and was won by Giuseppe Farina. Luigi Fagioli crossed the line in second just 2.6 seconds later. Parnell finished third, 52 seconds behind the leader. Fourth was Yves Girard Cabanto, hope I pronounced that correctly, who was 2 laps behind the leaders. And occupying the fifth and final points scoring position was Louis Rosier, who was also 2 laps down. And finally, the fastest lap was posted by Giuseppe Farina, which was a 150.6, and I would suggest you keep that lap time in mind as it will become important very shortly. So, that pretty much covers the race. Next, we'll take a quick look at the circuit. And here it is. As you can probably tell, the overall outline of the circuit is very similar to the modern outline. Or rather, the modern outline is very similar to the old one. There are, of course, some major differences, but the overall shape hasn't changed much over the years. The first thing you'll probably notice is where the start-finish straight is. It's situated between Abbey and Woodcut rather than Woodcut and Copse, as it's been for the majority of its life. So, turn 1 back in 1950 was Woodcut, which is a very fast right-hander. Then we move into Copse, which is virtually the same as in modern times. Next is the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel complex, again very similar to how it looks today, but with a few obvious differences, mainly that Beckett's wasn't the fast sweeping right-hander it is today. Next we move on to the Hangar Straight. Not much to say about this one, except maybe that the scenery is completely different, obviously. Then we come into Stowe, again for the most part it is the same as its modern counterpart. Next is Club, which back in the day was a 90-degree turn rather than a chicane. And finally turn 8, which is Abbey, although to me it feels like more of a kink rather than a proper turn, but to each his own. And that concludes our little circuit walkthrough, and we can finally get to the part you've all been waiting for. Coming out of Abbey to cross the line and set the first qualifying lap, which is a benchmarker of 149.58, not the fastest, at least when you compare it to the pole time, but I can't really compete with Maseratis and Alfa Romeos, so we have to do with what we have. And coming out of a club, I believe this is, I nearly lose control of the car. That's going to lose me a lot of time, and that is a 146.981, which is a bit of an improvement, but not by much. So I still need to find a little bit more time around the circuit. Again, I'm not going to compete against Felice Bonetto in his, I think Maserati is what he's driving. And now coming into, uh, I think that was, oh, I don't know what corner it is. Anyway, whatever. I what happened here? Jesus, I can't talk. I downshifted too early and lost control of the car, and now I lose control again trying to shift into third gear. I'm not really sure what I'm trying to do here. I'm having difficulties controlling this ERA for some odd reason, and it's just a 1.5 liter engine. And now coming into Beckett, I brake very late and end up having to go behind the hay bales there and lose a bunch of time. That is not good. I really need to try and focus a bit more in qualifying. And now coming into club, again I lose control of the car and lose even more time thanks to it. I'm really having a lot of difficulties controlling the car in qualifying today. I'm not sure why that is, but that is a 145.8. Slight improvement, but still not enough. I'm not sure if that will keep us in 12. And now coming to set a 145.55, which is actually the fastest of the session. Again, I don't really have the ability to compete against the faster cars on the grid, so this will have to do. And here is something interesting. As you can see, qualifying has actually ended and I am in 12. However, as soon as I skip forward to warm up, you'll see that I've been bumped down into 18th for some reason. This is something I've actually noticed the game doing every once in a while, especially in non-championship mode. And here we are at the start of the British Grand Prix, the inaugural season for the World Championship for drivers. And we jump straight to the grid walk. We have Nino Farina in pole, Juan Manuel Fangio in second, Felice Bonetto is third, fourth is Ascari, and Luigi Fagioli rounds up the top five. Then we have Louis Rosier in the Talbot Lago. Next is seventh, Prince Bira. Then Rick Parnell in eighth. We have David Hampshire in ninth with Harry Schell in 10th. Peter Whitehead is 11th with Louis Chiron in 12th. Cabantu is 13th with Serafini 14th. Then we have Peter Etancelin in 15th. Cuff Harrison in the first ERA is 16th. Eugene Chabot is 17th. Andy Higgs in the second ERA is 18th. Crosley is 21st in the Alta. 19th. I kind of lost my thought there. And anyway, Anyway, this is the first race of the season, so I guess I'm going to take it easy. This is obviously Andy Higgs' first race in Formula 1, so he needs time to kind of get used to driving the car and getting a feel for the car, really what I'm trying to say, as we now rush into turn 1, which is woodcut. As you saw there at the beginning, there was quite a bit of bumping into each other, and there's already chaos on the circuit. We have cars on the track and at the side of it too, and People having struggling a lot for grip. I'm guessing the tires are still not warm enough, and we already climb up into 14th, which is really good. I'm now having a look at Raymond Sommet, but I'm not really able to keep my speed through cops, but I should be able to, at least I hope I'm able to overtake that Ferrari soon. It would be nice. And here is a replay even of the start. As you can see, the cars are bunched up quite hard on on the grid, and I'm not sure how accurate that is. I think in real life they would have been a bit more spaced out, but oh well, I'm willing to forgive them for this. As we now come into Woodcut and see all the devastation, there's one of the French cars. I think that's one of the Simcas. We see the two Altas, and there is Prince Bera, who is out of the race. I saw one of his wheels broken off, so he's definitely out of the British Grand Prix. So that's the first official retirement this race. And I think we are going to have a look at the replays shortly here. Yes, here it is. He's coming into um, comps there and crashes into that hay bale, which is apparently strong enough to break his wheel. Now, of course, these wheels were spoked, so they aren't as um, strong as the more modern uh, wheels. Anyway, I'm chasing after Louis Chiron right now. We are down in 14th. We need to try and find some speed, and Eric Chabot, Eugene Chabot even, is out of the race. He loses control of the car, crashes into the hay bales there, and decided that that was it for him, and he didn't want to continue anymore. So we're now starting our second lap. Very interesting first lap, opening lap there. Next, I'm not sure what's happening here. Anyway, we are still chasing after Serafini, and we have another retirement, it seems, with Joe Kelly losing control of his Alta, going behind the bushes there, and out of the British Grand Prix. So that's the third or fourth retirement now. And Cabantu is also out of the race, as it seems he also loses the car. Everyone, the AI seems to have difficulties controlling the car. They shift downshift way too early, and which causes the rear wheels to spin really fast and wow, end up losing control of the car completely. With all that, we are now up in 10th and some 5 seconds behind Serafini. I hope we can catch him soon. Next we have we see Serafini crashing out of the British Grand Prix, so we are now in 8th. Quite a wild race here today. And here is Serafini coming into, I think that's Club, and he crashed into the hay bales and lost his wheel. And this is Etan Celine, who loses control of his car, crashes into the chain link fence, which apparently is strong enough to break off your wheel. So we are now coming through Woodcut to start lap 4. We are some 3.5 seconds behind Ascari. Later on I catch up to Ascari. We're just 1.5 seconds behind him, and I'm slowly looking to overtake him, hopefully soon. Not really sure how soon, but I'm hoping soon enough. Anyway, here we have Crosley in his Alta starting his lap, and there's a big crash in front of him. He crashes into that Alfa Romeo. I think it's Juan Manuel Fangio's Alpha, and this is the Ferrari of Peter Whitehead. He loses control of the car, crashes into the hay bales, loses his wing. Fangio crashes into the Ferrari, then Crosley crashes into Fangio's Alfa Romeo. So that was quite an interesting little incident there. As I'm now right behind Alberto Ascari, trying to overtake him, use his slipstream on this straight, flick the car to the inside, and we are through and up in 8th. This is absolute. This is better than I actually expected. I thought I would be somewhere in 12th, 11th, maybe 10th, but we are in 8th. Obviously, this is a bit helped by the fact that there have been a lot of retirements thus far, and there is Louis Chiron, who's just overtaken us. And look at the speed that Maserati. Is it a Maserati? I think it is. Anyway, look at how much speed that thing has. There's obviously no way I can compete with that. And now, coming around, I'm about to overtake my teammate, or rather the second ERA driver. I don't think we're really teammates since we have different colored cars. But I move up a place anyway. Felice Bonetto overtakes me, but that doesn't really matter as in real life he didn't compete in the race, and so technically he isn't competing in this race either. Although he is here physically, we will not count him in the standings at the end. You'll see how. And Juan Manuel Fangio is now out of the race on lap 12. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe this. There have been so many retirements already. It's quite insane, really. That's A for us, and here is Juan Manuel Fangio coming into the pits, it seems. Yes, that he's coming in for fuel and tires, I believe, and everything seems fine for the moment. And I can see a wheel in the distance there. I don't know if you can see it. And Juan Manuel Fangio suddenly decided to retire from the race for no reason whatsoever. That's quite an interesting thing to do. Anyway, so now we are 7th. Actually, technically, we're 6th, since, as I said, Felice Bonetto doesn't really count. He's not in the race, despite having his name in the race. I think that's a bit confusing, but Felice Bonetto retired from the race, but still, he doesn't really count. And Nino Farina, the leader of the race, is out of the British Grand Prix. This is turning out to be one interesting Grand Prix, and we are up in 4th place. We are in the points, guys. And here is Farina coming into the pits. Again, it looks like everything is alright, and that's Fagioli in the other red car. And there are a bunch of cars passing them. And there goes Farina, who retires from the race, and so did Fagioli a little bit later on. So basically Farina gave up his race there. Not sure why. He was doing well, he was leading the race, he had a very good lead on Harry Schell, but I guess he got sick of it. And at the end of lap 16, actually the start of lap 16, because the start finish line is before the pit entrance, I had to come in for fuel and tires. And for this race and this entire season we will have pit crew, but that won't be so for some of the races in some of the seasons, as I will either have to reduce the animation for the pit, or actually or in some cases even get rid of it, as there are some bugs with pit stops at some of the tracks. But for now we're doing well. We're chasing after Louis Chiron, who's out of the race, as well as Cuff Harrison. Considering they both retired at the same time, that makes me believe that they actually crashed into each other. That's quite an interesting thing. And here is Chiron coming around. It looks like Cuff Harrison was slowing down to enter the pits. Chiron didn't really pay attention and crashed into the back of Cuff Harrison. So that's two more people out of the race, and we are about to take 3rd place in the race. This is absolutely amazing. Of course, this is mostly thanks due to the fact that there are a lot of retirements, but I never would have thought that I would be scoring points on the first race. Well, I would have, but not Andy. Andy obviously didn't think this would be possible. And I've just started lap 23, and Harry Shell crosses the line to win the British Grand Prix, the 1950 British Grand Prix. Very, very well done. This is obviously completely different to what happened in real life. Harry Shell was nowhere near the points, let alone having the ability to win, and David Hampshire crosses the line in second. And now we come around to finish the race in third. Ascari is fourth, and Raymond Sommer is in fifth, rounding up the top five. And we also have Rec Parnell, who technically is actually out of the race since he didn't finish 90% of race distance. And here is the retirements list, and at the bottom there we can see Felice Bonetto, who didn't actually start. But yeah, that was the British Grand Prix, quite an interesting race and quite an interesting result, really. I'm quite I really don't have words to describe how I'm feeling. Yeah, third place. I didn't actually think this was possible, but hey, it seems that I gave the AI a bit too much credit, more than it would have deserved. Anyway, I want to introduce a new feature in this series. I kind of want to keep track of Andrew Higgs' um, sort of progress throughout his career, this very, very long career we've started, and we're going to take look at some of the things I want to keep track of. And here it is, Andy Higgs career statistics, which should come up. Yes, there we have Grand Prix entered, obviously just one. Best start, 18th unfortunately. No pole positions yet. Best finished, 3rd obviously. No wins, obviously no championship wins. We have 4 points, and the race experience, which is expressed in laps completed, which is 23 out of 24. And there to the right we can see trophies won, which is a bronze trophy thus far. But yeah, that is the British Grand Prix. That was, and quite an interesting little race here today. Our next race is the Monaco Grand Prix. I'm hoping the AI will do a little bit better there, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, stay sharp.